friends, and thanks for joining us today for the Black Hills Connection podcast, where we like to chat with people and just see what's going on. People in the Black Hills, like Karin Merkle. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's so great to have you. Now, we've known each other for a few years. So I first met you, I did a story with you because you have a business based on helping people with dyslexia.
Yes.
So first of all, tell us the name of your business.
It's called Rapid City Dyslexia Care.
Okay, pretty straightforward. Okay, but tell us a little bit about your background, because it's pretty interesting, because you started off like as a teacher, and that seems, that kind of aligns with what your mission is. But just kind of talk about how you got into this work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So back in 1993,
Okay.
I was a classroom teacher.
Okay.
So I taught 5th grade for many years at Black Hawk Elementary.
Oh, okay.
And then me and my family, we moved to Minnesota, and I taught 6th grade, and we moved to Colorado, and I taught 4th grade for a couple of years. And after being in the classroom that long, I made the switch to small groups of reading at this school.
Sure.
And as I began teaching these small groups, it wasn't through the schools that I learned about dyslexia. It was because of one of the students I had in my small groups.
Okay.
But this was a 2nd grade girl named Angela, who was very smart, bright, witty, just a real good kid. She had a good attitude. She had good attendance. She put in the effort to try to improve her reading, but just really struggled as a reader.
Okay.
And her sister, I had her older sister in my 4th grade class, and her sister was a gifted and talented level reader.
Okay.
So, and I find out the parents had read to Angela since she was a baby. And so her mom asked if I would work with her over a summer. And this was before I knew anything about dyslexia. And so I agreed, but I just kind of did general
reading stuff.
Yeah. So I really worked hard to try to find the right type of material for Angela, and she really worked hard over that summer. And I feel like the summer was kind of a waste when it came to closing that reading gap.
Oh.
But it was also the beginning of the biggest change for both of us. And that was just at the end of the summer. I said to her mom, based on just few signs of dyslexia that I did know, like she would look at the word on and she'd say no, and she'd look at was and say saw, or vice versa. She had letter reversal. So those are kind of the main things that people know about dyslexia.
Okay, yeah.
And so I saw those things with Angela, and at the end of that summer of tutoring, I said to her mom, I said, well, maybe she has dyslexia. And that's what's getting in her way. But I actually thought that was the end of the story for me.
Right.
Because I didn't know there was anything you could do about it.
Okay.
I thought it was very rare. I thought, well, if I ever happened to have a student with dyslexia, then I would just
pass it off to somebody
else who knew what to do. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so when I said this to the mom, I was kind of like, well,
sure, wipe your hands.
maybe it's this. We tried.
Yeah.
And Angela's mom later heard about a free community presentation going on down near Denver at the time about dyslexia.
Oh.
And so I signed up to go to that, and that really was the beginning, because I sat in that presentation and began to realize how much I hadn't been taught about dyslexia. So I'm listening to this presentation, and I'm hearing that it is not as rare as we think. It happens with intelligent people. And as I'm hearing examples in this presentation, tons of kids from my teaching past are popping up in my head like, oh, that reminds me of this kid from 2 years ago. That reminds me of this kid from... And so I started realizing that the signs of dyslexia had been all around me, but I had no clue that that's what it was.
Wow.
And so I left and then I also learned at the presentation that, by the way, there's a way of teaching reading and spelling that works for people with dyslexia.
Oh, okay.
And so I went back to my elementary school at the time and told them a little bit, gave them a little mini presentation about what I had learned, and they agreed, and I got started on that different way of teaching reading and spelling. It's called the Barton Reading and Spelling System.
Okay.
I got to try it out in Colorado, and then about a year later, when we moved back to the Black Hills, I just was trying to learn everything I could about dyslexia.
Yeah.
I was going to conferences and presentations and listening to webcasts and attending courses, and just kind of like talking to people, adults with dyslexia. Just try to find out who in the Black Hills knew about dyslexia.
Yeah.
And learn from them, and then also just trying to learn more about dyslexia, since I feel like as a teacher that is kind of a big thing.
Right.
And so I did start teaching privately, specialized reading and spelling lessons to people of all ages.
Okay.
And through those lessons and talking to adults with dyslexia and my classes and everything that I was attending, I started to have a better understanding of dyslexia. And as I was doing these lessons, students would say or do something that I just found fascinating. And so I would write that story down, and every time that a parent would call me with concerns about it possibly being dyslexia, I found myself saying the same examples and stories, and like, well, you'll never believe what I, saw or what this student did. And over the years of doing that, more and more stories and examples and really fascinating experiences kind of piled up in my head, and I found myself repeating them over and over again, and to the point where I just wanted to capture them into one written down book. So that's where that came about. But just
your book. Yes.
Yeah, I have. So we'll talk about that later. But yeah, so I've given presentations about dyslexia. I share information and resources with parents and teachers. And I have a team of specialized reading and spelling tutors who work with students of all ages.
Yeah, because it kind of started with like you know, with these one-on-one with these students, you know, because it's obviously something you've become an expert on. Like you said, you went to you put in the work, and because I feel like you're passionate about this, helping people, you know, with this learning deal. And so, I mean, you become your own expert, and then you started teaching and all this, and then it kind of just grew, right?
It did.
I mean, and you realized there was such a need.
Yes,
maybe.
Yes, absolutely. So I was wanting to use this type of teaching in with the schools. Sometimes big school districts move kind of slowly when it comes to making big changes.
Sure.
And so I was actually hired back on by Rapid City area schools and was starting after school with students. And so I just thought that would always be how it was. I would kind of do a little bit of both. But my private tutoring schedule started to fill up.
Yeah.
And so I eventually was able to leave my school district job and just fully do the tutoring. And then I continued to get calls. So now I'm giving parents this hopeful information and solution. But I'm a little, I don't want to fill them with hope and then be like, but my schedule is full. And so then I started hiring tutors. And helping some parents learn the Barton system to use with their own kids.
And so then they can do it at a certain extent. Okay.
Yes. And so, that's grown quite a bit. I've been doing the Barton system for more than 17 years. And right now, I think I have about 17 tutors.
Oh my goodness. That's a lot. Wow.
Yeah.
So just, I guess, dyslexia, like, to me, I think, it's like, words or reading looks weird, like a J is backwards, or like, but like, I don't really know. Like, what exactly is happening in the brain?
So, dyslexia, one big misconception is that it is seeing things backwards.
Yeah, see?
But I can see why people would think that because of the examples I gave of Angela and the B's and the D's. But dyslexia, the bottom line is that it is a sound, the sounds of our language, it's a sound processing difference in the brain.
Oh, okay.
And students with dyslexia, because they have a fairly good spatial, kind of three-dimensional spatial awareness, they're not as good with the flat things because they don't think. Well, let me put it this way. Everybody, when they're born, they have something in their brain that's kind of a symmetry mechanism. It allows them to recognize objects or faces, no matter which way the object or face is facing.
Okay.
And so when they see a banana, they are going to recognize it as a banana, whichever way the curve goes.
Okay.
And students with dyslexia are good at that three-dimensional object viewing. They kind of view the big picture of things in life very well. They're good at decorating or, design, architecture, and kind of the Legos, Minecraft type three-dimensional things. Well, they take that strength, and then when they see a shape that's flat, two-dimensional on a page, it's kind of like they want to fully understand that letter or that word, and so they want to view it.
Yeah. I want it to
using
pop
their
out.
strength. But that gets them into trouble because unlike the banana, that is a banana no matter which way the curve is facing, a B is the same shape as a D. Oh. But if you're, right, so it's kind of, it becomes a 50-50 guess on the letter or word.
Oh, interesting. Yes. Okay, well that.
But once we show students how to start on the left and go to the right and be aware that spoken words are made up of smaller sounds, then that reversal issue does go away for the most part. Okay,
so it's this concentrated work that you can kind of cope with it, or because you can't you're not like, oh, now you're cured of it. I mean, it's not like that.
Dyslexia cannot be cured, but the reading and spelling issues that are caused by it can be fixed. And so I never really did answer your question about what dyslexia actually is. So it is a difficulty with language. At its very core. So the DYS part of dyslexia means difficulty with. The lexia part of dyslexia means language. So dyslexia is just a difficulty with language, which includes reading, writing, sometimes speech, and spelling. Spelling is probably the most challenging. So you, but it is kind of the definition of it is just an unexpected difficulty with reading and spelling and writing, with language skills, despite education and intelligence.
Okay, fair enough. And then I feel like it's oftentimes, maybe I'm wrong, probably parents who maybe see something in their child. Like something's that, or you're kind of, obviously teachers too, but I feel like a parent might be more involved. But I realize probably adults realize at some point, hey, maybe I have dyslexia. That's a thing too. But absolutely. I feel like, is it a lot of cases parents, trying to figure out if their kid has it?
Yes, usually, I think now there are starting to be some more awareness at earlier ages, but it used to be kind of just, if a parent saw reading and spelling difficulties in their child's schoolwork, they would usually think, well, I've got a smart kid, so I'm sure it'll
work itself out or something.
And things will click and it'll be just fine because I know I have such a smart, smart kid. But then as those reversals or choppy reading but inaccurate reading, as that continues and the spelling, you can see the spelling errors show up and even handwriting, then the parents start to grow a little bit more concerned, because now middle school's looming and they're like, okay, well, if they haven't learned to read efficiently and effectively by now, then maybe we should look into it. So that's how a lot of parents find me, is just they're concerned about the trajectory of their child's reading ability, and they'll search out some answers.
Sure, because like, I mean, it's one of those things you kind of have to like address earlier than later, right?
You know, I've found, so yes, I agree. The brain's, you know, if you can catch it early, the brain is nice and flexible to be able to change and learn more quickly at that earlier age. So if we can get students started earlier, that is best.
Sure.
But I have had success in students who have started with me when they were 14, 15 years old.
Okay.
And they're not even reading at a first grade level, and their skills do improve. So it's very rewarding. But, and so yes, if we can catch it early, great. But I would say it's never too late.
Never too late, yeah.
And I had a student who was 54 years old.
Oh, goodness.
So it's so fun, actually. It's very interesting. It's very, very cool. And one of my students, not the 54-year-old, but was going to school to become a physician's assistant, and she and I would meet over the computer to do these lessons.
Oh.
And she would always be asking me, like, why is this word pronounced like this? Or how do you spell this word? Or how do you say this word? And they were like medical, you know, like, what?
Right.
But I could usually see where, you know, where the logic was with why they were pronounced that way or spelled that way. And so it was very fun to do lessons with adults.
Well, because you have to sort of get in the brain of that someone with dyslexia, right? Did you have it, or
no,
is that?
I did not, you know, and you would be right that I am passionate about this topic, but it felt to me like it was just a big need.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't that because of my love of this topic that I started doing it. You know, I didn't really, like when I was teaching 5th grade, my specialty was science.
Oh, wow.
And so I had no idea that would go this direction, but once I saw the need, I saw the solution when I went to that presentation, got to try it out with those kids in Colorado, and saw it making a big difference in their lives. And so I couldn't help but continue doing that type of teaching.
Yeah, what a mission.
It is very, it's been very rewarding.
I was going to say, that has to be, so, I mean, I can't think of another word but rewarding, you know, when you just can get past that obstacle and you know, have these kids, and, you know, I feel like they're probably at a pretty low point. Like, why can't I get this? Something's wrong with me, you know, whatever. And then it's like, no, it's just the way your brain is just, you know, how it's processing. So let's work it out. Absolutely. And then they get to the point like, wow, like light bulb type moments.
Yes, absolutely. It is, you know, I do love to see the reading and spelling scores go up at school. That is fun. And the state test scores start rising, and that is fun to watch. But I will have to say, I really love to see the students' self-confidence come back.
Absolutely.
Because then they realize, I just need to be taught a little differently.
Yeah.
And I got this. Yeah,
I love that.
It's so fun. And you mentioned adults too, you know, like a lot of the parents do recognize the dyslexia in themselves after learning about it for their children.
Wow.
Yes, in fact, there's a local doctor in town who didn't realize he himself had dyslexia until his son started getting lessons.
Wow.
Yeah. And then he realized it himself. So
that's super cool.
Yes,
I love that. Okay. So we know you do the tutoring and all that. Is there anything, and we kind of touched on this, but is there anything like people can look out for either themselves or in their children, like just, you know, like, are there any like common traits, or besides like the letter reversal?
Yeah, right.
I mean, is there anything else to say about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it really shows up in school age, but there are things that you can look for even before the school, before the reading and spelling start to be on paper. And, so if a child is late to talk, now, people with dyslexia are all different.
Sure, so, it's not like every single case.
Right, you might not see all of these signs, but if you see a combination of these signs, then it's it's worth looking into. But, late to talk, trouble with rhyming, Students should be able to rhyme, I think they say by 4 or 5 years old. And so if they're not able to rhyme, that's a sign. If they have trouble saying longer words, like animal, spaghetti.
So like 3-syllable kind of words?
Yeah, and when you have a little kid who's having trouble saying a word, it's cute, but then if it kind of hangs on.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and so they, and the reversals, the things in their letter, like I've seen students in first grade write their name completely mirror image.
Oh, wow.
Right, and that is a sign of dyslexia, but I will say at that early age, if that's the only thing, if you're seeing all, late to talk and this, then maybe it would be worth looking into. But students often do have those reversals in the early grades.
Okay.
Even if they don't have dyslexia, because of that brain symmetry thing that I was telling you about. But once they learn to read and spell by decoding or in that linear way, that goes away. So if those reversals were still happening past second grade, then it becomes a sign of dyslexia.
Okay.
And this is kind of an obscure one, but if students have a lot of ear infections.
Oh, really?
That is a sign of dyslexia as well.
Okay, interesting.
So anyway, some of the things to look for before the school age, and then when school starts, the reading and spelling mostly gives us the biggest clues.
Yeah, okay. And that's, I mean, I feel like teachers might see some stuff maybe, but I feel like it's probably parents. I don't know.
It is a combination of both. I think. Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. Yeah. And then also we're here to talk about your book. This is awesome. Like, I love this. Like, okay, how did you come up with this cover?
Oh my! Well, this little hexagon is there for a reason, because, like I told you, this book was born because of all the stories.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
And so a student of mine had. He was coming from Hot Springs, and so most of my students get 2 lessons per week. And instead of having his parents drive twice to Rapid City, he would come, have a 50-minute lesson, and then I would just give him some Lego shape, just play with toys and time as a break, and then we would do the second one.
Okay.
And one day he came for his lesson, and during his break between the lessons, he was building with these little blocks, or I don't know, shapes. They're flat. They're pretty flat. They're like the math ones. They're, anyway. So he had put together a shape or a design that involved this, and then some shapes on the side of it. Let's see if I can find it.
This has color in it, y'all. Okay.
Okay, so
fancy.
He had built this, which is just a hexagon with some diamonds on it.
Okay.
And now this kind of gives it away, so I don't want to show that page too much.
Okay.
He called me over and he said, "Do you want to see these 3 cubes?" And I was like, sure. So I'm looking at it, and they're the flat, these are flat shapes. And it's this flat hexagon with these flat diamonds. But as I was looking at it, it like became 3D, and I saw 3 cubes.
Oh, wow.
And I was amazed, because what he just saw took my brain longer to see it as 3-dimensional. So you could view this as flat, or if you kind of have a dyslexic brain,
it would pop out, I imagine.
That as a cube.
Yes.
And same with all this other. So
I could
this
see that.
Could be flat, or it could be a 3-dimensional cube. So anyway,
it's like those like portraits, right? They're like, stare at this and something pop. I'm always like, I could not see any of those ever.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what that says about me, but I can never
like
see
the magic eye.
Yes.
Which is actually, I give it as an example back here.
Oh, okay.
But I don't relate it to I relate it to not the 3D aspect, but just I compare it to a person recognizing dyslexia. So it can be right in your face. It can be, when I was a teacher before I learned about it, I had several examples, they're all in here, about that were dyslexia. And so the examples were all around me, but I just didn't see those. I didn't see those as for what they were. But once I learned about dyslexia and started talking and working with people with dyslexia, then it pops out at me. It pops out at me, and then you can't unsee it.
Yes.
So that's...
Isn't that like a rule of something they say?
Oh.
Once you are aware of something like a red Ferrari or something, and then like all of a sudden you see them everywhere. What's that?
Yes.
That's something. I'm going to think of it later. But
No, confirmation bias.
Is that what it is?
Maybe.
I don't know. Seems smart. It's a thing.
But yes, yeah, right.
Okay, so this is like a compilation of like a lot of stories, and it looks like some education in here too.
Yes. So
this is cool. I love this. All these pictures.
This starts off by talking about what dyslexia really looks like, and I actually one of my first sections on it is about the strengths. Because dyslexia, yes, it can make reading and spelling a nightmare, but it really actually does come with a lot of strengths.
Like superpowers.
Yes, absolutely. And then I go into pictures of students I've had over the years, whether it's their handwriting grip or how they've formed a letter, because that can also be odd,
Okay.
If it takes like 3 pencil strokes to make the letter R. Just
right.
Yeah,
sure.
And I give just some, examples of reading errors.
Okay. Okay.
If a student is looking at a word like form and they say from.
Yeah.
So a word that starts the same and ends the same, but has different order of letters.
Yeah.
So common reading mistakes.
Okay.
That are red flags. I talk about what the spelling errors might look like when students are trying to spell by memorizing instead of spelling by
like phonetically or
hearing the sounds and following then the logic of our language, the rules of our language to spell it correctly. But anyway, so there's some common things, and then I have a lot of the stories that happened to me before, during, or after I learned about dyslexia. So just interesting stories that you're like, whoa, that's...
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. So wow, this is, where can people get this book? Now you see it.
So you can, it is on Amazon.
Okay.
Or you can go to my website.
Okay, and what is that?
My website is RC Dyslexia Care.
Okay.
At .com. I was going to do my email address.
Yeah, right.
So, but if they actually just look up dyslexia in Rapid City, it will come up.
It'll come up, okay.
rcdyslexiacare.com.
Perfect, okay.
Or you can just call me.
Yeah.
You can look at the website and you can, I have a closet full of the books too. So for people who are local, you can just get a hold of me and I'll put it in the mail for you.
Okay, and then if people see this and they're like, okay, now I have questions about myself or my child, how do they get a hold of you, or what's the best way for that?
So probably a great starting place is my website.
Okay.
Because you can get my contact information and just give me a call and I will send you some great information.
Okay.
So before I wrote the book, I wrote an article about the good news of dyslexia. And so I'll send you an email with the article that I wrote. I wrote a document for teachers to help them just very, very quickly see what dyslexia looks like and the strengths that go with it and how they can best support students with dyslexia. So I start off by just sharing some resources and information about dyslexia. And then, of course, logically, a lot of those stories then do turn into lessons. But it starts with just, here's some information.
Yeah.
Here's what we know.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Very cool. Okay, so give that website one more time.
Okay. My business name is Rapid City Dyslexia Care.
Okay.
And my website is rcdyslexiacare.com. But let me spell dyslexia. So rcdyslexia, DYSLEXIA, care at .com.
Yeah, not the email, just a website. But fair enough. I mean, I love this, and I love your passion for this, and I think this is great, all this outreach you're doing. So
Thank you.
on behalf of the community, thank you for that.
Thank you. It's been very fascinating, and I've just gotten to meet so many neat people throughout this thing. It's very fascinating and a blessing.
I love that. Okay. Well, thanks again, and thanks for coming on the podcast today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Anya.
All right. We'll see you later. Okay, you guys. We'll see you next time.